So I'd say there's 7 learnings that we have around DevOps. The first one is team autonomy and enterprise alignment. You really need to have teams that are multidisciplinary, that can manage their own backlog, and yet align to the enterprise so they know what needles they're trying to move, what KPIs they're trying to influence in the course of pulling stuff into their backlog. And that process has us reset the KPIs on a 6-monthly basis, but always keep them fresh so that the teams know what to influence. That's number one. Number two is to shift left and shift right. In other words, to do as much as early as possible to keep the code and everything that is stored as code, like configurations, clean. So we use the pull request flow to run 60,000 automated tests and do those in 7 minutes so that we can get immediate feedback to the devs as to whether their pull request is clean before it gets committed to master. Then everyone's working in one master branch. And then we shift right by having great telemetry that lets us monitor what is happening in production so that we are able to effectively get the early feedback and get direct production feedback so that we can mitigate immediately and quickly. The third one is to keep a focus on flow of value for the customer. There are a few ways we do this. One is with feature flags. By doing feature flags, we expose new functionality in a progressive way, and we keep things in preview and can set criteria such as, well, we want 95% opt-in on new features before we make them generally available. So we keep experimenting, refining, making them better, and watch what users do, and keep watching and keep collecting real usage data on them before we try to flip them. Now, at the same time, we do a high bandwidth touch with customers as well. Those are 3. Those are sort of, those are things that we knew about during Agile days, but now can do much better with DevOps. Things that are really different with DevOps are number 4, applying hypothesis-driven development, like using the backlog as a way to say, we believe, not we know, we require, not we have an omniscient product owner, not we have a requirements contract, but instead we have a belief in this hypothesis. So we'll turn that into an experiment. And from the experiment, we'll collect data that allows us to support or diminish the hypothesis. That's using learning to continually improve the backlog and using hypotheses to drive development. Or, as Eric Ries calls it, build, measure, learn. Number 5, which makes that possible, is that we're always gathering evidence in production. Our telemetry pipe, for example, is gathering about 2.5 petabytes a day off of Azure services. And we use that both for the hot path troubleshooting to keep qualities of service up, but we also use it for the quote, cold path of the usage analytics I talked about. And that works because of number 6, which is that we maintain a live site culture or a production first mindset where production is always up, it's always good. We handle every live site incident, every LSI, to the point of a root cause analysis, which allows us to prevent recurrence. And the incident prevention items from those RSAs become work on the backlog. And it enables us to do a you build it, you run it culture, where engineers who are responsible for building the service are also responsible for running it and take rotation directly in handling live site. And then number 7 is that all of this is made possible because we use the public cloud. And the public cloud lets us think of infrastructure as a flexible resource. We take as much as we need in terms of resources at any time. We burst when we need to. We use as much as we can to keep test times down, to keep feedback times short, to keep telemetry flowing. And that lets us get these really fast feedback loops. So to summarize the 7, it's team autonomy, enterprise alignment, shift left, shift right, focus on flow of value, use hypothesis-driven development, gather evidence in production, focus on production-first mindset or live-site culture, and use the cloud so you have infrastructure as a flexible resource. I'll give you a 2-part answer. DevOps is the union of people, process, and things to deliver a continuous flow of value to customers. And DevOps brings the definition of done from being about potentially shippable increments of software to one where software is deployed in production, gathering data that supports or diminishes the hypothesis that motivated the deployment. So we ship multiple times a day. We run a 24/7/365 service. We don't do downtime. We do this in 14 data centers worldwide now. We are continually keeping the service fresh. So we are pushing deployments all the time. If a deployment does not succeed in a particular data center, it doesn't matter because the users in that data center are on a version that's maybe a day old. So we just restart and push again. This allows us to deliver a continuous stream of value to customers. We looked, for example, at our velocity in terms of feature delivery. And over the last 3 years, we've grown about 4x in terms of the features that we can deliver in a period of time, say in a sprint or in a quarter, to our customers. And that's because we have this velocity. It's really, the more times you deploy, the more opportunities you have to experiment. And we know from lots of data that when you do something new and deploy, about 1/3 of the time you get the improvement you want, about 1/3 of the time you get something different from what you want, and about 1/3 of the time it makes no difference. So you really want to be able to pivot fast on the things that aren't making a difference or going in the wrong direction and double down on the ones that are. The more times you can experiment, which of course is based on the more times you can deploy, the more opportunities you have to double down on what is working and pivot from what isn't.